and they call it the MAGA revolution. It's not a revolution. It is a counter-revolution. There's a big difference. This is a restoration. Let's use the word Trump restoration. We don't really appreciate what we've been through with 8 years of the Obama revolution and the 4-year more radical third term of Obama using or employing the waxen effigy of Joe Biden. A revolution that we've experienced was a cultural, economic, political, social evolution. It was very similar to the French Revolution under the Robespierre brothers. We should remember what they tried to do. They changed the days of the week. They renamed things. They tore down statues. They went after the church. Does this sound familiar? This revolution that we've experienced, everything was up for sale. Everything was negotiable. We invented a third gender and rammed it down people's throats. We tore down statues. We said 1776 was no longer the foundational date. It was 1619. We changed the very mechanism that we vote. We went from 70% of the electorate voting on election day to 70% of the electorate not doing that, either through mail-in or early voting. That was a radical change that had no discussion. It was done by fiat. It was incredible. We looked at girls' sports and we destroyed it. We said that transgendered biological males that were now transgendered females could compete. They won over 600 medals they took away from hardworking female athletes. We had drag shows among young children. It was an effort to change the entire Constitution. We forget that. They were trying to bring in Puerto Rico as a state and Washington, D.C. to get 4 instant senators. They were proud. They said that they were going to pack the Supreme Court. It hadn't been tried since 1937. And it was a object of disgrace ever since, but they were proud to try it again. They talked about making states, the Senate look like the House. They wanted, and a lot of them were advocating it was not fair that one senator in Wyoming, to take one example, is worth 250,000 votes, but a senator in California represented 20 million. They wanted to change the makeup of the Senate. They wanted to get rid of the Senate filibuster. Remember that. They wanted to bring back neo-Confederate nullification. 600 jurisdictions in the manner of South Carolina in 1832 or on the edge of the Civil War in 1860 when neo-Confederate Southern states said the federal government's law does not apply to us. Tariffs, Yankee tariffs, no, we were going to override them. Andrew Jackson almost invaded the Carolinas over that, South Carolina. And so these jurisdictions said, federal law doesn't apply here. We're exempt. We have our own laws. You cannot, federal immigration law does not apply here. It applies everywhere else to you, but not to us. So this was a revolutionary movement. Movies were different. Sports were different. Take a knee. And Donald Trump came in, and it was not sufficient to say, we're going to stop the madness of $37 billion. We're going to stop the madness of being short 40 or 50,000 military recruits because of this DI, coupled with the humiliation in Kabul. We're going to stop the appeasement of China. But that wasn't all. He said, the government is broke. We're going to go through all of these agencies. And finally, for the first time in the history of this country, when somebody says they're going to cut federal spending and drain the swamp or cut the administration, we're going to do it. And there's going to be no changing names except to go back to traditional names. And we're not going to topple statues. And if you break the law and you're on campus and you're on a student visa, you're going to go back home. So we're in the midst of a counter-revolution. It's not revolutionary. You know what it is? It's a return to normalcy. It's a return to common sense. It only looks revolutionary to revolutionaries. But to the rest of the people, it is a counter-revolution to restore normalcy and bring the country from the far left fringes back home again.
Welcome to the JJ Carrell Show. That was somebody that I really respect Victor Davis Hanson. Victor Davis Hanson. He is coming out of, I believe, major surgery. I hope he is recovering. It's been about 2 weeks now, so I hope he has. They're rare. I find him to be a rare individual, meaning is rare to encounter someone where every time that you turn him on or tune into him, watch a clip, read an article that he's written, that you know before you watch or before you begin reading, you are going to learn something. And you're going to learn something profound. You're going to learn something that you never thought about before. That's Victor Davis Hanson. I find that with Pat Buchanan as well, where you watch or you read something Pat Buchanan said 20, 30, 40 years ago, and you're like, was that just, if you just listened, if you didn't know who Pat Buchanan was, and you just didn't see the 1980 footage, right? The old grainy kind of TV footage and the 80s clothes and suits, and you just, all you heard was his audio, you would go, God, that guy is really spot on. He's really understands what's happening today. Well, I should listen to him. And then you find out, dear God, that's from 1980s. Same thing with Victor Davis Hanson. And he is absolutely correct on this. This is a counter-revolution. I love listening to him because he gives a different title, if you will, to what we're experiencing, right? We think that we're living in this upside down world, and we are, but we're living in a counter-revolution from Trump. They claim it's a revolution, the left, because we're progressive. No. I love how Victor Davis Hanson laid out systematically, one by one, the horribles that we've had to endure for well over a decade, like specific craziness, but for longer. They built up to that, to the Biden administration, then, or actually Obama, and then Biden was completely on steroids. Men can have babies. Men need tampons. Men can play in women's sports. Women are insignificant. Women need to be more masculine. You see how they try to do this? Women need to be more masculine in order to play sports against men. Of course, they need to be more masculine. Women need to be boss babes. So now we have this complete alteration of God's natural order. Women are supposed to be extremely masculine, so there's an opposite effect to that. What is that? Of course, men have to be more feminine. And then as men realize, I don't like being feminine, I'm going to try to reestablish my masculinity in my marriage, in my relationship, in my work. There's massive clash, massive disorder, massive chaos. It's all connected. That's one thing that I think is the overarching theme of my show. Besides, I think it's two things. I think it is, one, you trust no one or anything. You don't. You have to question. It's not Ronald Reagan, trust and verify. There's no trust, and I'm going to verify through very, very stringent research. And I'm not going to trust you until it is absolutely proven beyond shadow of a doubt that what I am saying or what you have told me is the truth. And the other thing on this show is everything is connected. Nothing is happening in a bubble. The transgender movement is not because of a bunch of sexually perverse people want to come out of the closet. No, this was used by our intel agencies, by outside intel agencies, to create chaos in our culture. How do I know that? Well, if you're paying attention to how we destabilize other countries, this is one of the main players. We institute transgender sexual perversion into societies, cause chaos. People are now talking about men dress up as women. They should be able to have intimate one-on-one time with your children in other countries, and it's now they can do everything they want behind the scenes because we're all looking at the shiny object that's destroying our culture. Think about it. Think about how much time, talent, and treasure has been spent on the recognition, the trying to dispute, trying to take down the transgender movement, the sexually perverse transgender LGBTQ movement. Honestly, how much? Trillions of dollars? How many hours? hundreds of millions of man hours of absurdity. This is a counter-revolution. We're seeing, or I like to say, is the pendulum is swinging. It's swinging back right, but it's not swinging as hard as it can or needs to be. Do I think that Donald Trump is the man for this moment? Absolutely. Absolutely, he is. Do I think that he is the guy for the future? Well, he's not going to be the guy for the future because he's going to be voted out. Do I think that we'll get J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio? Yeah. I think that's going to happen. But who knows? That's my call. What I also think will happen is if they don't institute massive change, which I don't think they will, right after them, there will become a extreme far-right nationalist, most likely a Christian nationalist, that is going to swing in here, and it's going to be a wrecking ball. Nick Fuentes says this. He said this the best way. He says we need to hope that this new tyrannical leader will be benevolent, but he won't. He won't. And I believe he's right. I believe that Americans, and I don't want this to happen. I don't want there to be, and I talked about this on my Real Take this morning. I don't want a civil war. And I don't even like using the term civil war because I don't think it captures what America is hurtling to. I think America will go into a second revolutionary war. Hear me out on this. Why did we go into a revolutionary war against the British and the king? Because we had no recourse for our grievances. We had no representation. We felt like we were just completely at the whim of the wind. Whatever the king wanted, whatever his nobles wanted, we had to dance. We feel the same way today. We feel no kinship with our representatives. We feel no relationship to the representatives in Washington, D.C. Victor David Hanson said that the existing representatives want to add states to the United States. They want to reconstruct the now 17th Amendment, which is an abomination to our Constitution, and further the 17th Amendment to create a system where there's more senators for the more populous states, meaning the more blue states. Because the more illegal aliens you can enter your state, the more representation you get in the Senate. That is an abomination of our Constitution. I believe we're not heading to a civil war. I believe we're heading to another revolutionary war. When does that happen? How does it happen? What does it look like? I don't know. I honestly don't know. And I think anyone that tells you, if this was going to happen and this is going to happen, they're a fool. Because I don't think anybody understands. It's not going to be the red coats versus the blue coats. It's not going to be that. It's going to be something different. And I don't really know what it is, but it's not, I don't believe it's going to be that. I don't feel represented. I don't believe that anyone in Washington, D.C. has my best interest at heart. I really don't. I think Donald Trump does. I think President Trump wants what's right for America. And I'm always giving him the benefit of the doubt because I don't know the information he does. That being said, there are things that I don't understand. Like I don't understand the laser focus on foreign affairs when our nation is under attack. Maybe he feels there needs to be a two-pronged approach to everything he's doing, international issues and domestic. I just feel more domestic focus needs to happen. It needs to happen immediately. Victor Davis Hanson talks about anti-revolution. He's talking about the people that are in power now. We're talking about the people that have usurped the republic. men can have babies. I want you to try to understand the enormity of that statement. I think that is the greatest representation of how far we've fallen as a society. I remember Donald Trump swearing in on Inauguration Day, and he had to say in his inauguration speech that there are only two genders. I turned to a friend of mine and I said, that right there, historians are going to take that line out of that speech as the example of how morally bankrupt the United States of America was in 2025. And they're going to be right. And they're going to look at the Christian American men, the CAMs, and they are going to realize, and they're going to pin it all on us because we failed our Christian American women and our Christian American children. Because we are a Christian nation. We're not a Jewish nation. We're not whatever that moniker or that title Judeo-Christian, which is a made-up term. And we're not a Muslim and not a Hindu nation. We are a Christian nation founded by white Christian settlers. Everything that we are living through today is an anomaly. I have said this before, I'm going to say it again. One of the greatest character flaws that the United States of America has is we believe everything that is happening today is historically always happened. And that is factually untrue. Do you know that people used to dress up and get on airplanes? They didn't wear their sleepy pajamas and their slippers and put bonnets in their hair. The idea that you would raise your voice in public and make a scene, you would be outcast in society. The idea that you wouldn't go to church, the idea that you wouldn't get married and have children, the idea that you wouldn't do everything in your power to provide for your family because you didn't want, number one, you didn't want them to go hungry or be unprotected, and then you did not want to bring shame on your name, your last name. Man, did I hear that from my grandmother and my mom and dad for my entire life, even in adulthood. You have a responsibility to bring honor to your name, never embarrass your name. And as I become a man, become a father and a husband, that means even more to me today. Because when we die, no matter how much money we have or accolades or whatever, you can't take it with you. Your name remains. Does it go into the dustbin of history and just mean nothing? Does it go into the history books as a criminal, felon, malcontent, somebody that didn't provide for their family and was a loser? Or was it you were a good man and you did what you had to do to provide for your family and you worked your ass off and you fought and were a patriot and a Christian? And Victor Davis Hanson is talking about just those things. What is the counter-revolution to the left? It's everything that I just discussed. The counter-revolution is based in Christianity. We have been living under a demonic rule. And I don't care how evangelical that sounds, because one thing I am not is evangelical Christian. I have a lot of problems with evangelical Christians. And I'm sure they have a lot of problems with the Catholic Church, which I share equally. But we are living and have been living under demonic rule. The devil, Satan, for probably my whole life up until probably the last 10 years, convinced everyone in the world that he didn't exist. It was genius. It really was genius. I don't exist. The devil doesn't exist. And then the whole time he's working, digging into education, digging into medicine, digging into philosophy, digging into the religious organizations. And now he feels so empowered because he has already gone into and already infused all of his demonic ideas into the populations, and they have flourished, that now he springs up and says, surprise, here I am. I've been here all along. And you have not only embraced what I have infused, you love it. And there are a significant percentage of our population and people that have influence, not only like it, they say, yeah, I want more of it. I'm not changing. Thus, we have continual today, just this week, Spam Burger. Can you believe somebody voted for somebody with the name of Spam Burger in Virginia? Just signed a bill for women to have abortions up until the time of birth. Just so that we're very graphic here, that means as the baby's head is crowning and coming out of the woman's birth canal, that a doctor could take a pair of scissors and shunt the baby's head in the brain, killing it. Last month, Tampon Tim Walls, the very, very questionable individual, signed a bill for the exact same thing with about 50 women of childbearing age behind him, clapping for the fact that they can kill their babies. When Victor Davis Hanson speaks about a counter-revolution, he is not speaking solely about politics. He is speaking about the totality of our lives. People say, I don't want to talk politics. Well, you better talk politics, because politics is everything. It has devoured everything, and it always has. That's like our pastors and our priests saying, well, I don't want to talk politics. Well, you better damn well talk politics. You better damn well look at your congregation and say, if you are a Christian, you cannot be a Democrat. Why is that so hard to say? Why is that so hard to say and then follow up and defend that statement in anybody? I remember our priest, this is about 6 months ago, began to talk about, he wasn't as direct as I was. And I wanted him, I think he's extremely intelligent man, extremely, and has a very unique way of articulating God's word in a way that is very digestible and intelligent, very well read, very, very, just everything you kind of want in a priest and a pastor, a leader. And he said something, and he wasn't as direct as I was, and he was talking about abortion, and he was saying that you cannot be part of God's plan and believe in abortion. And I remember the guy sitting in front of me is a big fat dude, never have any chance to get a woman pregnant, right? With sitting next to his very fat wife, and he's shaking his head, and he's like kind of mumbling under his breath. He was too far away from me. I wanted to just tap him on the shoulder and say, hey, why don't you get the fuck out of this church? How can you believe that you can kill a baby as you sit in the pew and Jesus Christ that's on the cross looking down on you, and you think it's okay to kill his children? Do you see how absurd we are? Do you see how sick we are emotionally, spiritually? We're sick. We're a stage 4 cancer patient when it comes to morality in the United States of America. There's no other way to articulate where we are. And Victor Davis Hanson is brilliant in his discussions. I love every time that he talks about anything. I want to listen. Do I believe everything? Do I agree with everything? No. But damn well close. Damn well close. So where does that lead us? What does that look like in today's world, the counter-revolution? Why is there this awakening amongst Americans? Well, we're watching our representatives from other nations, foreigners inside of our houses of Congress. And what are they doing? They're stealing from us. They're stealing from us. Republicans and senators have stolen elections. I want to show you one woman This is Benny Johnson is talking about Ilhan Omar's winery. And as you're watching this, and I won't play the whole clip, but I'm going to play some of it. I want you to ask yourself as you're listening to this, because if a guy named Benny Johnson, who is very talented, and a guy named Ian Carrell, or a guy named Ryan Matta, or Tucker Carlson, or Clayton Morris or Redacted, or J.J. Carroll can sit here and do research and figure out, well, this congresswoman is a fraud and she has used her position to enrich herself by millions of dollars. If we can all figure it out, where is the DOJ? Where is it? It's like you watch this video and you have to ask yourself, why isn't the FBI jump on this, bring Benny Johnson in and say, hey, I need you to turn over everything that you have, if you will, to this. This is the lead agent that's going to take this case. This lead agent has to do no background, really just kind of follow what Benny Johnson saw and go, oh, turn to and having a financial analyst, which they do, having the FBI, and begin to dig through the financials and go, this makes no sense. This is absolute fraud, and find the connection between her and her congressman, and then arrest her. We are past 1 year. We do not have not one fucking arrest. Let me repeat that. We are past the 1 year mark, and there is not one single fucking person that's been arrested.
I just investigated Ilhan Omar's official financial disclosures, and what I found was so dark and criminal. I don't know how she gets out of this without going to jail. Have a look at this. Here's Ilhan Omar's financial disclosure from the Congressional Record, year 2023. I want to bring your attention to this company right down here, Est Crew LLC. This is a winery in Santa Rosa, California. It's not doing that well. The total value of the winery is listed at $15,000, and Ilhan Omar's barely making any money off of it at all. Hardly enough to pay a parking ticket. Okay, that's fine. Nothing really mysterious there. Businesses fail all the time. But go ahead and look at her filing for 2024, and you'll find that Est Crew Winery, the same company in the same location, is now worth $5 million. That's incredible, up from $15,000. And now Ilhan Omar's making enough to pay rent. So this must be one of the most successful companies ever. Let's go ahead and check in on this winery. You know, maybe we could buy some wine. I like wine. Why not? Let's see if we can buy some Est Crew Winery. Here's Est Crew's social media Facebook page. You'll see here that the last post, oh no, was in 2023. Wasn't this the year that they were supposed to, go really big and make Ilhan Omar millions of dollars? Same thing on their Instagram, and they don't have an X. So let's go ahead and check their official website. What is Est Crew? We are winemakers and memory curators. Okay, Est Crew Winery has a bunch of brands that's led by these people, creators of eye-catching labels. So I'm sure I can go and get some of their wine, right? Well, they don't have any activities here, so maybe I could just go to their location and buy some of their wines, or maybe give them a call. Let's try and go to their location here. This is the Google Street View of Est Crew Winery, and what you'll find here is an empty parking lot. Doesn't actually look like an operational business. Certainly isn't the same name. So, okay, let's go ahead and give them a call. See if maybe they pick up. Let's go ahead and call the number on the webpage. Let's go ahead and give them a call and find out. Oh no, user busy. Let's try that. Okay. Well, I've done this like 20 times today. Okay, so that didn't work. Is there any wine in this wine company? Is there anything about wines? Because I see like stuff about events, but like, what is this exactly? Aren't you supposed to sell wine at your wine company? Where are your wines? Oh, there are no wines. You want to know why? Because this is a fake company. Rip Ilhan Omar's husband, accused of swindling investors in their California winery. They stole millions from cannabis growers. You can see here's the lawsuit right here, saying that Tim Minette, who's Ilhan Omar's third husband, no relation, swindled his investors and defrauded them. How did Minette get this relationship? Well, the current Attorney General of Minnesota, Keith Ellison, used to work for him. Isn't that curious? Keith Ellison, same guy who refuses to look into any of the Somali fraud. So this company was sued for being a fraudulent company. And the New York Post says the exact same thing, as the House is now probing the mystery of Ilhan Omar's skyrocketing wealth. They said that Ilhan Omar went from being one of the poorest members of Congress, worth negative $65,000, to being one of the richest, worth $30 million. Here's a rare photo of one of their wines that they allegedly made, The Devil's Lie. But the entire company is actually a lie. It's not a lie to Ilhan Omar, though.
It's a lie. So why is she still in a position? Can someone tell me why? I think it's important. Why is she not being arrested? We always have these investigations and they go nowhere. Absolutely nowhere. Because we are told lies from the people that are in charge of enforcing law. It's not hard to do. It's not hard to bring a case together and to say, this is fraudulent. How do you go? They don't even try to hide it. That's the biggest takeaway of watching Benny Johnson. They don't even try to hide the fact that they're a lie, that the business doesn't make, that the business is, it's a fraud. It's an absolute fraud. They haven't had any posts from 2023. As of today, that website has been taken down. Like a day after Benny Johnson put that out, which was this week. Do you think that's coincidence? I have been harping on this woman, but she's not the only one. You think that Ilhan Omar is an outlier? How does Crenshaw, how is he worth millions of dollars? And just getting $175,000 a year for the last 5-6 years. He's worth millions of dollars? How in God's name is that possible? He's a Navy SEAL, a vet. And he's worth millions? How? He never made more than I did. I'm not a millionaire 10 times over. How the hell does he get it? Ilhan Omar is a straight off the boat refugee in the Congress. Why is this allowed? Why are foreigners allowed to be in our Congress? I don't care if she naturalized. She is a foreigner. There must be at least one generation removed, 2 generations, maybe even 3 generations removed from landing on our shores on a boat, and then you can run for office. Period. Why are we allowing people that let's take this. Everyone watching is an American citizen. What if we moved you to Canada and then you immediately got in the parliament in Canada? Do you think you would have any, even if you fought it with all you love Canada, you're so happy to be there in Canada, but do you think that you would have even just a tiny bit of love and desire for your home country? Just a little bit. Even if that country was bad to you, you'd be like, damn, I got family there. Let me do what I can. So now, take someone like Ilhan Omar that has been fraudulently stealing, allegedly, billions of dollars from the federal government, from the Somali community. And I don't have to guess about her feelings for the Somali community because she openly states it in the gutter Somali language that she's for Somalia. It's all about Somalia. Her president isn't Donald Trump. It's not even Joe Biden. It is whatever Yabba Dabba Doo's name in Somalia is. We have massive problem. We need a revolution in America. Here's someone that followed right up on Benny Johnson, his show, on his report. And this is Carl Higbee. He's right on, spot on. And I want you to see and listen to this.
Another major asset she listed in her financial disclosure is this winery. What does a Somali know about wineryism? Okay, that was in 2023. That was worth, according to Ilhan Omar's own financial disclosure form, between $15,000 and $50,000. But on her financial affidavit from a year later, that same winery was listed at a value of between $1 and $5 million. Just real quick. Why does a Muslim own an alcohol company? I thought that wasn't a thing in Islam. Anyway, it gets weirder. Up until yesterday, Benny Johnson was able to find their supposed inventory bottles and all the things they had, their office location, and a bunch of other information on the business. But as of today, those sites are totally shut down, and any mention of their website has been wiped off the internet. I'm talking gone. The Wayback Machine, all these other crafty little archive sites, everything is gone. Like deleted the root service. I called my computer buddy, Jim. He couldn't even find it. It was some fancy AR jargon bot machine for recovery. I don't even know, he was explaining it to me. He couldn't even find it, which is weird that a company that boasted an award-winning wine, the quote, double gold winner in 2022 San Fran Chronicle competition with a corporate value of up to $5 million would just vanish into thin air. They didn't sell it. Is it possible for this to be a function?
Is it possible, he's going to ask, is it possible to be a functioning $5 million corporation and disappear? Disappear. Why is she not arrested? Why is she not arrested? That's a damn good question. Why is she not arrested when everyone knows she committed immigration fraud by marrying her brother? Documented by multiple investigative journalists. Documented. And nothing. If we had stones if we were a real republic that had law and order, they would send federal agents into her office, handcuff that skinny little broad, and throw her ass back to Somalia after she spent time in jail. But we don't. We live in a matrix. I absolutely believe that. We live in a land of fraud and lies. And everybody is just kind of placated. Circus bred. But I think Americans are getting their belly full of this. I think Americans are getting pissed off. I really do. Before I continue, please support me by going to my websites, jjcarrell.com, jjcarrell.substack.com. Go to my YouTube, click and subscribe to my show. Make it impossible for YouTube to continue to censor me, to continue to shadow ban me. Same thing with my Facebook. But go to jjcarrell.com or jjcarrell.substack.com. And also, please support the people that support this show. sat123.com/JJ, sat123.com/JJ. I have been partnered with them for almost a year now. They are an incredible company to be prepared. I believe this week it was over 1 million people continue to have power outages from the storm that now looks like a man-made storm. That's a topic for another episode. But you have no power, you have no connectability, you have no way of knowing what's going on. You need a sat phone, you need a generator that is solar paneled in order to get your Starlink up and running and have connectability. Ability to have communications equals time. Time equals the ability to make a plan and strategize with your family on how to get out of your problem. To me, preparedness means time. Time gives me opportunity to do whatever I need to do to save and protect my family. You don't have to look at life the way I do. I know that I look at things very differently than other people. But everyone needs to be prepared. Go to sat123.com/JJ, sat123.com /JJ. The title of my show today is Give a Communist an Inch. We've all heard that. We've all heard that saying. Give them an inch and they will take the proverbial mile. We have allowed this to happen with Ilhan Omar's, with Crenshaw's, with Chuck Schumer's, with Mitch McConnell's, Paul Ryan's, the litany of politicians, Biden, his family. This is what communists do. Communists steal. They manipulate, they propagandize. And what's happening in Minnesota is not Minnesotans. These are paid protesters. They are Marxists and communists. They're George Soros funded, USAID funded through international organizations, and they are creating chaos. America is in a fight, is in a war for the soul of her soul. Listen to someone I like to listen to, Jesse Kelly, talk about giving these savages an inch.
Do you have any idea what's going to happen if we retreat from Minneapolis? If we take 1 inch back, the communists will be so emboldened, the next city we go to, it will be twice as bad. 1 inch back. And the communists will begin going crazy like sharks. Have you ever seen video? You ever watched a nature video of a feeding frenzy, a shark feeding frenzy? You know that sharks have these insane noses. It's insane how good they are at smelling blood. They can smell blood in the water and they swim to it immediately. If you've ever seen one, there'll be a dead whale or something, a big dead thing in the water. Well, sharks will start to come from miles away and they'll start to feed on it. But sharks, they're very similar to Chris. Their brains are teeny, teeny, tiny. They're just instinctual animals. They have no thinking power whatsoever. All they know how to do is sleep and mate, or eat and mate. That's all they do, eat and mate. When they get in that situation where there's blood everywhere, there's rotted flesh everywhere in the water, they will start to go crazy in big groups to the point where the smaller sharks, they will be eaten as well. Sharks will emerge from a feeding frenzy with huge chunks in their bodies torn out of them because they can't, their tiny little minds just break, and all they can do is bite and eat every single thing in their path. That is exactly what will happen with the communist street animals in this country if the Trump administration even shows that they're thinking about taking an inch of a step back. No, forward. More arrests. The communists are telling you what they're afraid of. Feed it to them over and over and over again.
He's right. Here's someone else that I like to show, and I respect him greatly. Always like him. Tucker Carlson. Listen to him talk about what's happening in Minnesota. This isn't about immigration. This is about control. This is about domination. This is about taking over America.
Take a look at some video, and we could have pulled all kinds of pieces of video, but here's just one. This is from Sunday night, and it gives you a sense of what the city of Minneapolis looks like now. This, again, is real, and it is just a flavor of what's happening there right now. Watch.
Fuck you! My name is Rose Leslie.
So what you're looking at, what you just saw in that tape, is a group of federal agents, immigration officers, ICE agents, employed by the federal government, stuck in a hotel in Minneapolis, surrounded by what we're calling protesters, people who want to hurt them or screaming them, and they can't get out because there's no one to call. The local police refuse to come to their aid, and they can't move. Meanwhile, people are breaking windows and stealing and spraying graffiti. It's chaos. And this is in an American city. So if you've been experiencing the controversy over ICE through a couple of clips to American citizens being shot to death by ICE agents, and you think that that's the entire story, you should know it's just part of it. What you're watching here is an unraveling of a city and potentially of a nation. Take a look at.
He's right. You're watching the unraveling. This is communism. This is the Marxist takeover. I want you to understand that this has been going on not for a little while. This has been going on for years. This is a accumulation. This is the end stage. And this is maybe what I want to push and have everyone understand. This madness you're seeing in Minnesota, it's not going to stay in Minnesota. It's going to go to Ohio. It's going to go to Maine. It's going to go back to California. It's going to go to New York. It's going to go everywhere. It's going to spread. How do I know this? Because we're at the end stage. Biden and Obama brought this, and George Bush brought this New World Order, this chaotic America Last movement. And it is and the people that are in that America Last anti-American Marxist communist socialist movement, they know that we're in the fourth quarter. We need to push the football over the goal line to win. We're going to the Super Bowl in about a week or two. This is the analogy. We're living it. We're living the manifestation of allowing communism, Marxist, anti-American thieves that have stolen our country to include our representatives all the way up to the Washington, to the White House. I want to just use, because Minnesota is the shiny object. I want to show you this report. This is 7 years ago, over 7 years ago. I'm talking about the Somali fraud. No one did anything. No one did anything until it got to about $25 billion. And it isn't interesting that the moment that this is revealed in a grand national revealing of the amount of fraud, what happens? They have to cover it up. They bring in the professionally paid protesters to continue to fight for the takeover of America. America, we need to wake up. Our nation is dying.
It's the morning of March 15th. We're chasing a tip about a man who's leaving the country. Our sources tell us he just took a carry-on bag through security that was packed with $1 million cash. You can do that as long as you fill out one of these government forms. We're told these cloak and dagger-like scenarios now happen almost weekly at MSP International. The money is usually headed to the Middle East, Dubai, and points beyond. Our sources say last year alone, more than $100 million cash left MSP in carry-on luggage.
What we were interested in is where it was going.
Understand, this is 2018, 16, 18. They're freaked out over $100 million. The last 2 years, they've been averaging $1 million a day. We're up to over $700 million.
Going.
The national go-to expert on what's behind these mysterious money transfers is Glenn Kearns. He's a former Seattle police detective who spent 15 years on the FBI's Joint Terrorism Task Force until his retirement.
It's an outright crime. It's unbelievable.
Kearns tracked millions of dollars in cash that was leaving on flights from Seattle. It was coming from hawalas, businesses use to courier money to countries that have no official banking system. Some immigrant communities rely on hawalas to send funds to help impoverished relatives back home. Kearns discovered some of the money was being funneled to a hawala in a region of Somalia that's controlled by the Al-Shabaab terrorist group. How could they possibly come up with such big bucks to transfer back home?
We had sources that told us it's all about it's welfare fraud. It's all about the daycare.
To better understand the connection between daycare fraud and the surge in carry-on cash, you have to look at the history of this crime. 5 years ago, the Fox 9 investigators were first to report that daycare fraud was on the rise here in Minnesota. We exposed how some businesses were gaming the system to steal millions in government subsidies meant to help low-income families with their child care expenses.
This is a great way to make some money. I think it's kind of that informal word of mouth.
In order for the scheme to work, the daycare centers need to sign up low-income families that qualify for child care assistance funding. These surveillance videos are from a case prosecuted by Hennepin County. They show parents checking their kids into a center only to leave with them a few minutes later. Sometimes no children would show up. But either way, the center would bill the state for a full day of child care.
7 going on 8 years ago. 7 going on 8 years ago. Where are the rest? 70 people have been arrested. 70 people have been arrested this year. Not 5 years ago. And now we got 700 arrests. We have no arrest. Tim Walz had to have an understanding of what was going on. Ellison has already been shown that he knew. Ilhan Omar, she knows. And yet no one's arrested. As you pay your taxes, as you begin to formulate your taxes for this 2025 tax season, understand everything you pay, or when you get your paycheck this week or next, understand your money getting taken out is going to the federal government that's backfilling places in Seattle. Listen to what I'm saying. In Seattle, Washington, across the nation to Minnesota, and every state thereof, for foreign nationals to enrich themselves and send their money overseas. We are the biggest suckers ever. We are the host to parasites. I'm going to play this video from Miss Liz Wheeler. Her indignation, her demand for action is what we are all saying.
Over the course of the past 12 months, how many indictments have we seen from the Department of Justice related to COVID, to the federal government giving your money to the Wuhan Institute of Virology to perform gain-of-function experiments on a virus that became more deadly because of those experiments? Politicians that locked us down, forced us to wear masks, get vaccines, or else lose our jobs. How many indictments have we seen over COVID? 0. How many indictments have we seen for the Russia collusion hoax that was propagated, saying, you know what, even though the American people voted for Donald Trump, well, we don't think you should have won, so we're going to try to subvert you. How many indictments have we seen? 0. What about the FBI agents, political agents at the FBI, who targeted parents like you, who didn't want their children taught critical race theory in public school? They didn't want their kindergartner being told that they're racist because they have white skin, or they're oppressed because they have black skin, and there's nothing you can do to redeem yourself from that. What about the FBI agents and the political leadership at the FBI that allowed those FBI agents to raid Project Veritas journalists who had the audacity to investigate Ashley Biden's diary, which, by the way, was real? What about the FBI agents that labeled Catholics as extremists? In a memo they didn't intend for you to see, they just wanted to target you behind the scenes. 0 indictments. What about the government agents, and we know their names, by the way, that colluded with big tech during COVID over transgender ideology, about January 6th? Government officials directed big tech organizations, platforms to censor you. How many indictments have we seen? 0. What about the government officials that staged the raid on Mar-a-Lago? Went into President Trump's house. They raided Melania Trump's underwear drawer, for goodness sake. What about Fani Willis and the lawfare, the infamous mugshot that Fani Willis gave President President Trump, she abused the power of her office, or Letitia James's lawfare against Trump, or Alvin Bragg's lawfare against Trump. How many indictments of these people involved in this targeted lawfare against Trump have we seen from Pam Bondi? What about the people that were involved in the rigging of the 2020 election, the illegal changing of voting rules and procedures by people who had no authority to change or alter? 0 indictments. What about all of the NGO abuse that was uncovered by Elon Musk and his brilliant genius nerds at Doge? What about the left-wing groups who are committing violence all across our nation and funded by Roy Singham-connected groups sharing an office with the Chinese Communist Party propaganda firm? How many indictments have we seen for that? 0. Left-wing violence continues against conservatives. How many of these groups have been arrested since Charlie Kirk's assassination? This is Pam Bondi's record. This is the problem. And we have a big problem at the Department of Justice. We want President Trump's administration to succeed. We voted for him because we share his America First agenda, and Pam Bondi has become a liability to that agenda.
0. The answer is 0 to all of her questions. 0. 0 arrest. I despise the Democrats. I think the left are vile. I think they're demonic. Absolutely. And I won't walk that back for anyone. I believe they're vile and they're demonic. However, I will give them all of their due, because they would never, ever in 100 million years not arrest us. And what you're beginning to see from people like Liz Wheeler, Tucker Carlson, Nick Fuentes, Tate Brothers, is this feeling that if they get in charge again, they get back power, the left will come like a raging fire and they will destroy all of us. And they will, because they truly believe in what they're trying to accomplish. And I don't believe that the Republicans believe in their heart of hearts what we're trying to accomplish. I think they're placating. I think they're placating President Trump. I think we're seeing the slow roll and not passing the SAVE Act for giving us true, honest elections. We're seeing the judges not being impeached. We see judges not being confirmed by the Senate because they're slow rolling. Speaker Johnson, John Thune are slow rolling everything. They're placating our president. We did not vote for Speaker Johnson. We didn't vote for John Thune to lead us. We all voted, tens of millions of us, for Donald Trump to be our president. We want you little tiny man, Speaker Johnson, and you very, very wooden, stiff John Thune. We want you two morons to do what we voted for. But you won't. Why? And there's no pressure from the Republicans in the Senate, no pressure from the Republicans in the House. Why is that? And I think that's the bigger question that needs to be asked with Liz Wheeler. Why haven't we seen the codification of Doge? Why have we not seen the codification of the executive orders for Donald Trump? Why have we not seen any of the anti-American treasonous bastards arrested? Why? And the answer is because they are all incestuously involved in the destruction of America. The ones that went in with the best of intentions are compromised, either sexually perverse compromise with children, or same sex, or had affairs on their families, or took bribes. They're compromised in some way. This is why we're here in this position, because we gave communist, anti-American thugs an inch, and they took the mile. And this is why I stand with the belief that we are heading into a second revolution, a revolutionary war to take America back.